Harry and Meghan Markle's surrogacy scandal has entered the mainstream media.
So disgusting.
What if one of the most celebrated royal births in modern history wasn't what we were led to believe?
Let's take a listen.
This scandal comes as no surprise. Speculation about the children has been simmering for years.
For years, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry have crafted a narrative around Archie's birth as one of privacy, secrecy, and defiance against royal tradition. But as whispers turn into headlines, more people are questioning whether the story was ever as straightforward as it seems.
And I was instantly enraged from this 10-second clip. It just annoyed me.
Some believe the children aren't real at all, dismissing them as AI-generated images. Others are convinced there's far more happening behind the scenes than anyone has admitted.
Why have they simply not made an announcement to the fact that all of this speculation about children's arrivals?
Now, the voices challenging this official version are growing louder, persistent, determined, and claiming to be armed with evidence. What was once dismissed as fringe speculation is now gaining traction in public discourse. Critics are calling it a dreadful deception, something not just questionable but completely wrong. And as more contradictions emerge, the entire picture of Archie's birth begins to look far darker than the palace ever presented.
It's like she's playing a human being, like it's a performance.
If the story isn't true, then what really happened behind those hospital doors? This scandal isn't new. It's been simmering for years, and at the center of it all sits Candace Owens. Her outrage over a brief clip reignited the controversy, sparking a wave of renewed scrutiny. She's now publicly calling out what she sees as glaring contradictions in Meghan's pregnancy narrative. These inconsistencies, she argues, don't make Meghan appear strong or admirable. They paint her as self-absorbed, as though she's crafting an image rather than telling the truth. And these claims aren't just unsettling the public. They've left medical professionals and royal insiders alike shaking their heads.
It's a dreadful thing to do, and actually completely wrong.
This is no longer a passing tabloid rumor. It's a full-blown crisis that won't die down until the truth, whatever it may be, is fully revealed. From Harry's own memoir to alleged hospital leaks, the official timeline doesn't just feel unusual, it feels nearly impossible. Even Harry's descriptions, which are supposed to clarify, only deepen the mystery. Accusations of media manipulation swirl, with critics citing details like 2 epidurals, a rapid hospital discharge, and conflicting reasons for why the press wasn't notified. Each piece of the puzzle raises more questions, and together they form a picture that looks less like a royal fairy tale and more like a carefully staged performance. Buckingham Palace is now under pressure to act, with calls to remove Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet from the royal line of succession unless Meghan provides indisputable proof she gave birth to both children herself. And here lies the heart of the controversy. When you place these puzzle pieces together, you don't get a story of privacy or defiance. You get a web of contradictions that's becoming impossible to ignore. If even a fraction of this narrative collapses under scrutiny, it raises a chilling question. What exactly has the royal family been hiding, and why? Because if the inconsistencies are real, then the public wasn't just misled. The trust between Meghan, Harry, and the millions who celebrated Archie's arrival may have been fractured from the very start. Why lie at all? The entire situation is, as many have put it, truly bizarre. But before anyone rushes to judgment, it's worth breaking down the evidence piece by piece, because what follows may completely reshape how you see this royal story. The timeline described in Harry's own memoir could reveal more than the couple ever intended. In his best-selling book, Harry recounts Meghan giving birth to Archie at the prestigious Port Thailand Hospital, where she allegedly endured not 1 but 2 epidurals before leaving with their newborn just hours later.
He describes her very well, and he does this by taking a look.
Absolute media manipulation. But I thought tonight this was really ridiculous.
On the surface, it reads like a dramatic and empowering story, a glamorous portrayal of resilience and control. But once doctors, nurses, and even seasoned mothers started dissecting this account, the questions poured in. The first red flag centers on the claim of 2 epidurals during a single labor. An epidural isn't something you casually switch out mid-process. It requires a catheter placed near the spinal cord, and replacing it during labor isn't just highly unusual, it's risky. Medical professionals were left asking, why would that even happen? There's no medical necessity for it in a normal birth.
It doesn't make you sound like a better mom. It makes you sound like really kind of into yourself in a way.
The more people looked at this, the more it began to feel less like a straightforward account of childbirth and more like a performance. Then there's the recovery timeline. According to Harry, Meghan left the hospital and was home at Frogmore Cottage within just 2 hours of giving birth. That alone raised eyebrows. Even under routine circumstances, most new mothers, especially those who've had any kind of intervention or pain management, are monitored for at least a full day before discharge. Add in the time needed for newborn checks, paperwork, recovery, and the drive from central London's Portland Hospital to Frogmore Cottage, and the math simply doesn't work. It feels rushed, glossed over, and strangely convenient. So why tell a story that medical professionals say doesn't align with reality? If the timeline in Harry's memoir is inaccurate, then what else in their carefully crafted narrative might also be misleading? These inconsistencies don't just spark curiosity, they invite deeper scrutiny into everything surrounding Archie's birth. Because as unusual as Harry's version of events already sounds, the contradictions only deepen when we look at how the palace itself handled Archie's birth. For many, the most troubling part isn't just the inconsistencies, it's the facts, to that parts of the story appear to be outright fabrications. Take the claim about Meghan being in the hospital trying to induce labor by twerking. Medical professionals were quick to shut that down, pointing out that hospitals don't hand out beds for stunts like that, nor is it even allowed. The image of such a scene only added to the sense that parts of this narrative were more performance than reality. And while Harry's timeline raised medical red flags, Meghan's handling of the press truly lit the fuse. Traditionally, when a royal baby is born, there's a strict and symbolic protocol. The Queen is informed first, an official announcement is drafted, and the press is notified right away to share the news with the public. But when Archie arrived, all of those rules suddenly seemed irrelevant. Meghan gave not one, not two, but 3 completely different reasons why the press wasn't notified in the traditional way. In one version, she said it was to protect her privacy. In another, she cited complications during birth. And in yet another account, the explanation shifted again. If the truth was simple, why so many different stories? Even royal reporters, who usually tread carefully and stay aligned with palace messaging, expressed open confusion. Some were told Archie had been born hours earlier, while others received contradictory updates claiming Meghan was still in labor. This wasn't just a break in tradition, it was chaos that undermined the credibility of the institution itself. Royal staff and protection officers are trained to follow protocol down to the smallest detail. Deviations like this don't happen by mistake, which means the secrecy and contradictions weren't just unusual, they were deliberate. The question is, deliberate for what reason? Was this confusion an attempt to protect Meghan's privacy, to create a sympathetic narrative, or to cover up something far deeper about the monarchy? Critics argue that Meghan's behavior, such as recording private hospital moments with Harry as though she were preparing for a future Netflix release, makes it all feel staged. Why record such intimate moments if not to use them later? And if the explanations about the press don't hold up, what does that say about the rest of the story? Even more telling is Harry's claim about Meghan receiving 2 epidurals, which immediately raised alarms among medical professionals. For those unfamiliar, an epidural isn't a simple shot you can repeat at will. It's a delicate procedure involving the careful placement of a catheter near the spinal cord to deliver continuous pain relief. Once in place, the dosage can be adjusted without removing and redoing the entire process. That's why experts insist the idea of 2 separate epidurals during labor makes very little sense. And when paired with the other contradictions, it only deepens the mystery surrounding what really happened the day Archie was born. Switching catheters mid-labor is rare, risky, and only attempted under unusual circumstances. Even then, the recovery process would take longer, requiring careful monitoring afterward. Yet in Harry's memoir, this detail is presented as though it were routine, glossed over as if it were no more significant than a passing moment. Critics argue this isn't a reflection of medical reality at all, but rather a dramatized retelling for effect, or worse, a deliberate misrepresentation. And if Meghan truly underwent such an invasive procedure, the claim that she was discharged and home within hours becomes even more implausible. Multiple epidurals followed by a same-day release directly contradict established medical protocols, which require extended observation to catch potential complications such as nerve injury, blood pressure drops, or infection. Simply put, the story doesn't line up with how childbirth medicine actually works, which leaves us with an unsettling possibility. Was this just a misunderstanding of medical terminology, or was the story intentionally shaped to sound extraordinary? Because in Meghan's pregnancy narrative, every small inconsistency seems to open the door to something much larger. Childbirth is not something a woman simply walks away from in a matter of hours, no matter her privilege or resources. Standard practice requires at least 24 hours of monitoring for new mothers after delivery. Even in uncomplicated births, doctors and nurses track vital signs, assess bleeding, and check both mother and newborn repeatedly before considering discharge. And in cases of complications, like preeclampsia, which Meghan herself has suggested, discharge within hours would be unthinkable. Preeclampsia is a serious, potentially life-threatening condition that can trigger seizures, organ damage, and dangerously high blood pressure. Women with this diagnosis are often monitored for days, even weeks, to ensure safety. Yet, according to Harry's account, Meghan delivered, received multiple interventions, and was back at home in less than the time it takes to watch a feature-length movie. To medical experts, this timeline isn't just unusual, it's reckless at best and implausible at worst. What sharpens the contradictions even further is Meghan's own public stance. She has positioned herself as a voice for maternal health awareness, emphasizing the importance of proper care and observation. But if her story of leaving the hospital so quickly is true, it undermines the very standards she advocates for. And if it isn't true, then the public has been presented with a curated narrative that simply doesn't match reality. Either way, the inconsistencies pile up, raising more questions than answers. And those questions only grow more urgent once insider testimonies begin to emerge. Because if the evidence exists to silence speculation, it could be shared openly. A medical record, a hospital confirmation, a DNA test, any of these would settle the matter. Yet nothing of the sort has been released, leaving the mystery to fester and the doubts to deepen. Behind the polished royal announcements, a very different narrative emerges from the whispers of Portland hospital staff. Anonymous employees have described odd inconsistencies that clash with the glossy version told to the public. One insider questioned Harry's story about ordering late-night food, noting that patients can't simply summon gourmet meals at any hour. Yes, Portland offers fine dining, but staff remember Meghan's alleged cravings quite differently from what's been reported. Another striking detail is the secret elevator Harry claims to have used in his memoir. Longtime employees insist there's no such hidden escape route, only discreet private corridors like any other luxury facility. These may sound like small discrepancies, but together they paint a troubling picture, a story crafted for public consumption rather than rooted in fact. Adding to this is the quiet testimony of a supposed hospital insider who claims Meghan's stay was far less dramatic than portrayed. Suddenly, the official timeline begins to look even more fragile. Candace Owens has seized on these inconsistencies, arguing that when the small details fall apart under scrutiny, the larger claims must be questioned as well. Were the couple simply embellishing for sympathy, or was this something more deliberate? A carefully constructed effort to control every piece of the narrative, down to the menu and the hallways? Whatever the reason, each leak pushes the public further from trust and closer to suspicion. And that suspicion only sharpens with the bigger question, why? Why include medical details like 2 epidurals and a same-day discharge in Harry's memoir? Were these misunderstandings, exaggerations, or something more intentional? By now, the inconsistencies aren't just piling up, they're demanding an explanation. If the timeline doesn't add up, if the hospital details don't check out, and if insiders keep contradicting the official version, we're left with a chilling question. Why would Meghan and Harry feel the need to alter or embellish something as personal as the birth of their child? Some suggest it's about control, maintaining power over the narrative in a royal system where privacy is almost impossible. Others argue it was a strategy to generate sympathy, presenting Meghan as a woman navigating extraordinary challenges under extraordinary pressure. And then there are those who believe the secrecy wasn't about Meghan at all, but about shielding the monarchy from uncomfortable truths. Whatever the reason, the contradictions have produced an unintended consequence. Instead of silencing critics, they've handed skeptics more ammunition. Every blurred timeline, every shifted detail, every misremembered moment feeds the perception of dishonesty. And once public trust erodes, rebuilding it becomes nearly impossible. Candace Owens' criticism taps directly into this mistrust, amplifying doubts that have simmered for years. Because if a royal couple can't be straightforward about something as fundamental as a birth, what else might they be hiding? Whether this was a calculated PR move or a tangled web of half-truths, the outcome is the same. People are questioning the integrity of the entire story. And that leads us to the final reckoning, the contradictions, the consequences, and what this all means for Meghan and Harry's credibility moving forward. From memoir contradictions to hospital mysteries, Meghan's pregnancy story is riddled with inconsistencies that simply don't add up. Whether this was sloppy storytelling or something more carefully crafted, one fact remains: the truth is still buried beneath layers of confusion. Candace Owens may have stirred the pot, but her commentary shines a spotlight on questions many have whispered for years. The details don't match, the timelines clash, and every new explanation only deepens the suspicion, leaving a royal narrative that no longer feels untouchable, but fragile and exposed. But here's the kicker. This isn't the only part of Meghan's story raising eyebrows. If you thought the pregnancy timeline was unbelievable, wait until you hear about her age scandal. Yes, even her own father, Thomas Markle, has stepped forward with shocking claims that could completely change the way you see Meghan. These revelations don't just stand alone, they connect directly to everything we've uncovered today and expose even more secrets the public was never meant to know. Don't miss our previous deep dive. It's the companion piece to this investigation, and it lays out details that will make today's story even clearer. Before you click away, hit play on that video and continue the journey with us. Trust me, you'll want to see just how deep this rabbit hole really goes. This is Starlight Buzz, where the truth behind the headlines is always one step closer than you think. Stay curious, stay critical, and I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you never miss a moment of the stories that matter